And then in 2013, my father stepped back and I was asked by the board to take over the day-to-day running of his race team. And it was the most extraordinary privilege of my entire life. And I still have pinch me moments that I ran a Formula One team.
Yeah, and amazing, actually. And one of the two women in the modern era, as I mentioned in the intro. And I know when you were running Williams Racing, you had around 800, 900 staff under you. So I'd imagine some of the times as a leader, the challenges were thick and fast, and life wasn't always easy for you. So I think it'd be worthwhile describing to the audience, what were the challenges that you faced in your leadership role, and did your leadership style evolve over time?
If I forget the second part of the question, Nadine, please remind me. I probably had a series of both personal and professional challenges when I first took over. The personal, I was very young. I was 36. I was the youngest ever person to run a Formula One team. And therefore, that probably brought with it the inevitable inexperience. I'd never run a business before. And then suddenly I was in charge of this historic, giant of Formula One. And I had to very quickly learn the ropes and put myself into that role and give myself the confidence to be able to go, I can do this. I know what I'm doing. I've been brought up in this world. I've been brought up in this team. I know what needs to be done. You mentioned the fact that I was one of only two women to run a Formula One team. I was back in 2013, women didn't run Formula One teams. Women held the dictaphone trackside after a Grand Prix for the driver. And that in itself met with a huge amount of focus and not least negativity and criticism that I had to try and just push to the side. I had a job to do and I needed to focus on my job rather than the negative noise that came from, oh, there's a woman running a Formula One team. How on earth is she going to manage that? So those were kind of probably the biggest personal challenges, in addition to the fact that I was the boss's daughter. And there was this enormous kind of crossover into the professional challenge that I had to suddenly step up into this role and I had to get the team believing in me. And I had to get those people that had worked for my father for so many years. They followed him. They were there at Williams to race for Frank. Suddenly they were being asked to race for Claire. And that was a very different mindset that we have to try and get people to buy into. And it wasn't an easy piece of work. But I think when it comes to leadership, when you go through that succession, when you go through a transitional change at the top, it's all about just demonstrating that you belong there and that you're capable of doing what is being asked of you. And then on the real, structural professional side, I think, for me, there were a lot of challenges. I'd inherited a team that had finished 9th, 8th and 9th in the Constructors' Championships the 3 years previously. And I had a piece of work on my hands to turn this team around. And so there was a lot of structural and organizational change that I had to implement when I took over the business. I didn't have time to really think about any of those other personal concerns that were very loud and right there. It was, I've got to roll my sleeves up and get this job done and prove that I deserve this job, that I belong here and that I can run a Formula One team. Because there was a whole kind of mix. And that first year, 2013, I actually don't remember, I don't think, a single minute of it. I remember 2014 and when things settled down and we'd made all the changes and I'd kind of settled into my job. But 2013 remains a complete blow in my history.
Yeah. And actually had great successes, didn't you, in the first couple of years as well? But, being a leader of any business comes with its challenges. But being a leader of a Formula One team, and as I mentioned, it's a complex business. It's relentless, the deadlines. You've got 24 races. So how do you get teams to maintain high performance without burning out? So how do you get that right balance?
I think it's about being, and I think that was one of my attributes as a I definitely feel that I've got a level of emotional intelligence that I can understand where an organization is and certainly where my team was. I was very present as a leader and I'd learnt that from my dad. Be around your people, go and talk to them, go and understand what they're going through. And particularly in those hard moments, that's when sometimes leaders feel that they just want to hide. They want to lock themselves away in their big office on the top floor and hide. And for me, that was never something that I wanted to do as a leader. I had learned that from my dad. When the times are tough, you've got to get down there on the factory floor or wherever it is, and you've got to be with your people, and you've got to talk to them and take that health check, I suppose, to see how they're doing, because that then motivates. They know that you're present. They know that you're communicating to them. They know that you're telling them what you're doing, what the plans are to move forward. So for us, when things weren't going well, and there were a number of times in the latter years of my tenure running the team when things weren't going well, for me, the most important aspects of trying to drive performance and maintain morale was being present and communicating really well.